how to build a global personal brand through authenticity.
Yeah.
John Marty, I think you do it better than almost anybody I've ever seen. Just a
Thanks,
real
man.
natural way of connecting with your audience. Can we do that for people, kind of like unpack how to build that personal brand, how to go global, and to do it in a very authentic way that's true to our nature?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the biggest myths on the personal branding side of things is people don't know where to start, and they have this mentality of the expert. They have to become an expert to actually do something in personal branding, or they'll say things like, there's far too many people that are already doing this. Why would I ever be able to get started? And I think those are some of the biggest problems that people wind up having. And, you know, I could have said that 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and I wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in today, right? You could have said that with your company. You wouldn't be in the situation you're in today. You could have said, oh, there's tons of other video marketing companies, right? Tons of other people trying to get onto Tony Robbins' stage. Why would I be able to do that, right? But you did that because you believe you could do it, and then you took the steps to do it. So content generation is actually very easy. It's literally just sharing your thoughts with the world. Some days you're in a situation where you are, you're very, like nothing's coming to paper, right? You put pen to paper and you go, it's not flowing today.
Yes.
Some days you feel like it's flowing. You write like 6 posts, you go, this is great. And when you start, you're a very wide funnel, right? If you think about marketing, you're a super wide funnel at first. You don't know who you are or what you're doing. Now, some people have the luxury of saying, I know exactly my swim lane. I know what I'm going to do. But a lot of people have no idea, and that's okay. I think the mentality of test and learn, test and learn, test and learn. What am I interested in? What gives me energy? And what am I going to follow? Right? You got to follow the energy. If you are de-energized by writing about a certain topic, stop writing about that topic.
Yep.
Right? You want to be known for the things that light you on fire, that get you really excited, and you don't want to be known for something that you are not excited about. Right? If you go to a barbecue and people go, "Oh, dude, your personal brand is so huge," and you go, "Yeah, but like that, I don't want to talk about that at all." That's terrible. And that's what a lot of people wind up doing, and you'll see it too. You'll see like these dueling personalities.
Right.
You get on video with somebody and you go, "Wow, that person is different than I know them online." Right? Totally different personalities.
Okay, so I love this. I'm seeing our audience is starting to come in droves.
Yeah.
For those of you that are just arriving right now, let me set the stage of what the two of us are going to do for you in our time together. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to be authentic online, which is really how to learn to create video content and tell your why you do what you do, and how you do it exceptionally well. And the next step we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to establish your authority, where you're going to learn algorithmic tips and tricks for generating buzz around your personal brand. Now, the third thing we're going to do towards the end is show you how to build a community, where you're going to learn to engage with your followers and cultivate relationship through social media. That is all going down. Plus, but wait, there's more. We're also going to answer your questions, right? And we're going to give you the answers that'll help you get to where you need to be más rápido. So we're going to help you skip the line, get to your end goal destination faster. How does that sound, John Marty?
I think it sounds awesome, man.
All right, cool. So let's start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. Let's talk about authenticity. You started teeing off on it.
Yeah.
And then, for me, as soon as I got enough reps of getting on front of the camera and sharing my why and preaching the good gospel, eventually I got to the point where there was no division between who I am off camera and on camera. Yeah. What is the repetition like in your process? And what I'm really going at is, how has massive freaking reps got you to the point where you could just be you when you turn on the camera?
Yeah, I mean, it just takes time, right? The first 10 videos that you create, it's very awkward, it's strange. You're staring at the camera. You're faltering a bunch of times. You don't know what the process is like. If you go to a studio, right, you don't see how many takes that people have when it comes to
making their magic, right?
Yeah, when it comes to making their magic. And so that's the thing that happens to literally everybody. You can be the biggest pro in the world and you're going to shoot 20 takes and go like, oh man, I just don't like any of them, right? Because then you're like, this is not good enough. We get into this is not good enough. I'm not good enough. Why should I be doing this? Why am I staring at the camera? Tons of self-limiting beliefs. Right. And then you come down and you realize like, well, actually everybody faces the same exact situation. And then you wind up getting more comfortable. At first I started scripting every video because I was like, man, it's just way more efficient. But then I realized like, when you script videos, then you get comfortable scripting and then you can't go off the cuff and then people don't feel the authenticity. So I was like, I got to drop the scripting. And even if it doesn't sound perfect, that's not what it's about. It's about saying the ums and the likes. And at first you're going to say them a lot and you're going to realize that you have strange facial tics and things that you're doing. And you're like, oh man, like this blows. But every time you edit a video, you get better. And every time you watch yourself on camera, you get better. You become a better speaker. You reduce the amount of ums and likes naturally after watching yourself millions of times. You get more comfortable editing the videos and seeing yourself do these things. And then you start laughing about those things. Yeah. You start going like, oh man, I just did that thing again. And that's where the authenticity really starts coming into play, when you can start laughing about the faults that are in your videos.
And being okay with it. Like one of the benefits that I have is I started off in radio where every day I had to create 4 live hours of unique content.
Yeah.
6 days a week because I was stuck at the radio station in a really bad contract.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the option of putting out 1 minute or 2 minutes of content every day. I had to get really comfortable with good enough being great.
Yeah.
And not being enslaved to the concept of perfection. And once I started shedding all of those, and I think that's really about repetition. But before I knew it, I was like, my content good enough is going to be better than any perfectionist that's only going to get out 1 piece a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right, man. I think that's so true. You really do have to just be in the mode of just continually creating. Here's the problem though. From the standpoint of strategy, if you are just creating for the sake of creating, that's one thing.
Right.
But I've seen plenty of people who have hundreds and hundreds of videos who are actually not getting anywhere at all because they're not strategic about it. You have to be strategic about it. And you also have to recognize that the people who have massive followings are not necessarily any better. Right. They played a strategy with their content. They recognize it from a YouTube perspective. YouTube is all about search. What is YouTube? Why do you as a person go to YouTube? You type in a keyword. You search for something you need, right? You need to solve a problem. YouTube is a place you're either going to be entertained or you're trying to solve a problem. Do you fit into that either one of those niches? Yes or no? If you do, great. Then cater to an audience. If you're in the how-to world, cater to an audience and say like, hey, this is no BS. I'm going to give you 3 things that are really important that you need to do because I know this thing. If you're an entertainer, show your tigers, right? Like do whatever, like show your Lamborghinis and stuff your tiger in it and get 1 million views. Great. But it's driven by a title keyword, right? And on LinkedIn, it's different. LinkedIn is a feed. Facebook is a feed. These are different experiences. You have to keep the feed fresh. Your content drops. Whereas on YouTube, your content is evergreen and searchable. Totally different strategies when it comes to these type of things.
So how did you get you to your why? I'll tell how I got me to my why.
Yeah.
And then from there, we'll help the audience discover their why and then polish it up. Are you down with that?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right. How did you get to your why?
Yeah. So, long journey of that actually, but, to make it really simple, I started to look at personal stories that were heavily affecting me, in a negative way, from the past. One in particular was the failure of my second company. So that was a grounding story for me to say, how did I overcome this? Right. So in overcoming being broke and lost, I realized a number of different things. I gained a bunch of different pieces of perspective. that I realized that I could share with others. So I think a why is, there's a lot of stress around people saying like, I need to find my purpose. I need to find my why, but it is a constant experimentation. And often the people who find it are the ones who are thinking through their most painful personal stories that they overcame and helping others with those things. That really is the grounding impetus for a lot of people to do incredible things. So, if you're searching, search for your stories, and really try to use those as your fuel.
Yeah, dude, that's so beautiful. My stories, my why are about how I, at some point, struggled with something and overcame. And so, like, for example, I'm always telling people about either the learning disabilities that I struggled with or the cancer battles that my wife and I went through together. And I don't tell those stories as looking for sympathy. I tell those stories so people can key in on their own story and recognize that they too can persevere.
Yeah.
And that horrible experience can be turned into something amazing.
Yeah.
And on the business side, my why is, look, if you're I try to get businesses to sell their products and services faster. Like, that gets me fired up inside. But I also know that if you've gone through challenges with your business, all you have to do is think about all the challenges you've gone through in your personal life.
Yeah.
And that should be able to inspire or motivate you to take on a new territory, knowing you're going to get out on the other side better, smarter, and able to persevere. And I think it just they blend in together. So you might have multiple whys throughout your content creation life.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I'd been reading this book that was breaking down that a purpose is found through a feedback loop. So you have a particular thing that you're really interested in doing, right? You some goal, some whatever, and then you take action on that goal.
Right.
So that goal might be tied to a personal story that's really deeply personal or something like that, right? Or it's maybe surface level, like, I want to be rich. Okay, great. But still, you're taking action on something. And then action is going to have a feedback loop attached to it. And you're going to get positive feedback in the form of likes and follows or things like that, or you're not, right? Or money or whatever. And if you don't, depending on the duration and depending on the strength of your why, you're going to stop, right? And so that's a really fascinating perspective that I had kind of been, thinking through. And I was talking to Stephen about that feedback loop. And I think it's something that's often missed because it's like, I should just find my why. I should just know it right away. And it's like, when you're 20, you have no idea.
Right.
And you're learning it and you're experiencing, and then something you might even hate, which is kind of fascinating, something you might hate doing. If you get positive feedback long enough and you get really good at it, then all of a sudden you now have that as your purpose.
Right.
Which is hilarious, right? Because we don't think about it that way.
Okay, let's, for our bilingual audience that's here, let's play a quick game of sí or no. You ready?
Sí or no.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
No, it's a bilingual game. Are you ready?
Listo.
Yeah,
Sí.
Okay, good. All right. So, does your why have to resonate with other people? Sí or no, John Marty?
Sí.
Okay. So as you're starting to think about what your why is, start to also recognize that when you're telling your stories, what's resonating with people.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't resonate, if it doesn't hit them here and align with who you are, it should be a good indicator that the audience won't be attracted to it like a magnet. You buy that, dude?
That's right. I buy it, man. I buy it.
All right.
Unless you're in the entertainer space, right? If you're in the entertainer space, that's a different swim lane. But if you're in the space of my why is meant to help other people, right?
Yes.
It has to solve their problems, right? Your personal brand is helping solve their problems. And if it does, you're going to grow like crazy.
Good. Please, if you're watching, just think about that. Make sure that your personal brand, if you're not in the entertainment space, is solving problems. And that in here, you arrive every day to serve that audience.
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
I was a waiter. I never left the feeling or the need and the desire to serve my audience and anticipate what their next needs are. Like a waiter would recognize that somebody that ordered soup is going to need not only the soup, but the spoon to arrive at the same time in order to serve them. And if you can be anticipating what your audience's needs are, you could be there to provide it to them. Now let's get into this second point. This second point is essential. Oh, by the way, we have one bullet here that I want to just ask you, John Marty, if we need to spend a few more moments on this, which is learn to create video content to tell your why. Do we need to unpack that a little, or did we do a good enough job on it?
I think we did a good enough job on it. Nobody is good at first on camera.
Right.
There really aren't. Right? Somebody would see some of my videos or your videos and they'd be like, oh, they're just a natural, whatever. It's like, yeah. Thousands of hours of content later, the fear is no longer there. I could turn the camera on and just talk. So
would it be helpful if I just gave some basics though?
Do it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when you're creating your videos, your camera, and it doesn't matter if it's this one or the web camera, should be at eye level. Mm-hmm. Everything should be in alignment with your eyes because we make relationships that way.
That's right.
And you shouldn't be looking down or up. The only person that likes this angle is your ear, nose, and throat doctor.
That's right.
But everybody else, you should just be straight on. Your light should be in front of you, not behind you. So if you've got like South Beach and girls going up by in bikinis, good on you. But don't put it on camera because we want to see your face and what makes you tick. Now, the next thing is the eye craves distance. Yeah. So instead of being pushed up against a wall like you got a police mugshot, don't do the Nick Nolte thing or the what you see all these celebrities do when they've got the crazy hair and they're up against a wall. The eye craves depth. Yeah. So figure out a way where you can kind of position yourself and make that background look presentable. So if you're from California, Nevada, or Colorado, put the bong away, don't put it in the background, and make sure you've got a presentable content behind you so people can see that you speak from authority. Just kind of clean that whole thing up.
I agree. I think that but I think there's different ways to do it. I think there are some people who start off with a crappy camera, they start up with a crappy background, the terrible lighting and what have you, right? But they're delivering great content. And over the course of a year, what winds up happening is they realize, I need a better camera, I need these things, right? Test and learn. And then, but what's cool, when you're posting on a place like YouTube or when you're posting on a place like LinkedIn, they see that journey. This person has gotten better. This person is speaking better. This person is doing all these things better. And that really resonates with people as well. Right? Because if you start from this perspective of like, I'm a pro, like it's easy for you and I to be like, okay, so on a corporate video or whatever, I got to like dress nice. I got to have the nice backdrop, silky smooth, blurry background, nice lighting, whatever, because we're catering to a certain audience.
It's not realistic for everybody.
Exactly. That's the core takeaway. Yeah.
But do know that one of the big limiting beliefs that I hear is I don't have an expensive camera. And my theory is use what you got because what you got is pretty damn good. And every one of us have one of these of some variety that's got a really nice camera in our back pocket. Use it, rock it, and then unleash your authority, which is where we're going to go right now. Yeah. How to establish authority. Where do you get started, John Marty, when you're working with somebody on establishing their authority, bro?
Yeah, so there's it largely depends on where you're trying to go. And oftentimes where people are trying to go is different from where they are today, right? It's in a totally different field. It's something completely divergent from the path that they're on, right? They're a project manager and they're like, but I really want to talk about gardening, right? That's a difficult situation to be in, right? Because your authentic brand is not going to further your project management role. But to be authentic and to think about this as a long game, right? I'm going to spend 5 years, I'm going to spend 10 years in the trenches building something I really love. You can't talk about project management. Mm-hmm. So that's tough. I think that's the biggest blocker for people because they're stuck in the middle of what they really want to do is over here. And what they're doing right now is over here. And if they build their brand on project management, the house of cards falls down pretty quickly after a few years.
Have you always been in your authority niche, or did you migrate over to it?
So I'm migrating. I'm currently in the process of migrating. So I've found different topics that are very interesting. And so I'm still working through my authority. I think I talk a lot about careers, and I've had like, how do careers really bridge the gap to talking about financial freedom or finding your why or all of these things? But I realize now, after talking about them for so long, where they connect. And I help people understand the connection points now. And I say, look, there's a practicality involved in getting a job. You got to get a great job. You got to get paid well. You got to play the game. But when you play the game, learn how to save your money and do things with it that are not going to keep you in the game, that are not going to keep you enslaved by the game. These are very important things. So, and then how do you reach your goals, right? All of these goal training tactics that I'm developing are all interrelated.
Okay, I love this. I migrated also. I started off as a digital marketing, SEO, social guy who spoke on big stages. And I remember seeing in 2003 that when I was at iHeartRadio running digital for 7 of their largest national talk shows, that video was a beast inside of our metrics, and we were all audio people, right? But video was getting 10 times the results. So I remember bookmarking in 2003 to be aware of video when bandwidth becomes available. By 2010, I had migrated from running those digitals all the way into video, but I would go to the same digital marketing conferences, and my speaker friends, we'd go out to dinner, and this conversation happened in Fenway Park over some many beers. And as we were having this conversation, I said, I don't want to be the video guy. I want to be, because I have like massive field context at this point. And my friends were like, no, dude, you're the video guy. Just own it, be it. And I was like, but I feel too limited by it. And their response was, own it for the first 5 years and then migrate your way into other things you want to talk about.
Yeah.
And I did that, but honestly, I did it with a pouting tone. And then as bandwidth became more available, becoming the video guy became more tolerable.
Yeah.
It became somewhat sexy. And then before I knew it, I was talking about what I really wanted to talk about, which was closing deals faster and using video as the tool that did it. So, but it took a decade for that to develop, and I made my migration slowly.
It does really take a decade to develop. It's, I think that's the missing link. Everyone wants the simplicity. How do I do this brand thing quickly? Here's the fascinating part about it, and I'd love to hear your feedback about this too, man. When you build a brand for yourself, nobody can take it away from you. When you build a brand for yourself, you're not dealing with bureaucracy in a corporate hierarchy. You are dealing with unleashing you. And if you really unleash you, then what winds up happening is numerous streams of income come to you.
Right.
And you realize, wow, there's no need for a job.
Right.
And every day becomes Christmas because people come to you with opportunities. People ask you to be on this or that or to do things. And there's constant collaborations that are happening outside of the sphere of a day job. The day job, same people, same silo, every day doing the exact same things, same corporate speak. How do I get promoted? How do I get promoted? How do I get promoted? It's like, guys, work hard in that arena, but recognize the game that you're playing, right? You're dealing with 3% annual raises. You're dealing with a boss above you who's not really getting that paid that much more than you, really, in reality, right? If you think, 20, 30,000, grand scheme of things, that's a very small number that you're dealing with to level up, slaving away for 80 hours a week to prove to your boss that, hey, I'm worthy of the next level, right? It's like, no, I'm not playing that game, right? Like, I'm building me, okay?
Right.
And I'm recognizing that game for what it is, and I'm building me over here so that I don't have to have a job.
Wow. So I got laid off in 2010 from a company that I built. I was employee number one. I have an amazing amount of stock, grew that company to 40 employees and trained them all, and then got escorted out the door by the employees I trained, loved, and hired. And it friggin' devastated me because I invested in something that wasn't me.
Yeah.
And even though I was already wildly successful in the digital space, I felt like I was starting over. And now, every day feels like Christmas because every day I'm working in my favorite area and it's all passion. So can we, while we're on this topic of establishing authority, first you've got to have really strong knowledge, massive field context. If I'm going to give you how to establish your authority, I think it's a daily diet. It starts with a daily diet of at least a minimum of 1 hour of learning about your industry, which means reading. So like everything I do is when I leave here, everything that I need to read is already added into the Speechify app. And I put my headphones in and all the articles I need to read that day get pumped into my ears. So when I leave here and go to the gym or I go on a run or I'm sitting in traffic or I'm doing errands, I'm going through Inc. magazine and Fortune magazine and Entrepreneur and doing the data dump for the day in the easiest consumption modality that I can while I'm on the go. But what happens is in 3 years, you'll be an authority on a topic if you have a 1 day diet, or a 1 hour a day diet. Within 5 years, you'll be a national authority. And in 7 years, you'll be one of the best people in the entire world. But it takes a steady diet. Can we talk about algorithmic tips and also these tricks for generating buzz around your personal brand, dude? Can you tee off on that for a moment?
Yeah, of course. All right. So the algorithmic tips. Social media is about a network. It's a web. It's about signals of positivity and negativity and engagement. It's a very simple loop. There are signals that fire off to a small sample size of population of your post or of your YouTube video.
Right.
And then how many people are engaging? What is the click-through rate of that post? It's very simple. If the click-through rate is higher than an average baseline, then what winds up happening is it gets shown to another sample set. And YouTube or LinkedIn are thinking, is this sample set representative of kind of a new population? So they keep pressure testing A/B, 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 A/B. And if all of those A/B tests are doing well and the positive signals are still there, then they're going to show your content to everyone in the world, right? YouTube watch page. You're going to be featured on the top of LinkedIn because the engagement is being driven. And what does the company want? The company wants engagement. You have to think about their goals, YouTube's goals, LinkedIn goals. They're all about engagement. The more people are engaging, the more people are staying on the platform. That means they're longer time on the platform, and the longer time on the platform means the platform is successful, right? That's what they want. So when it comes to whether it be a webinar that you do or whether it be a post that you create, right? Look at the people who have done well in their posts. Why are their posts doing well? Are their posts doing well because they're witty? Are their posts doing well because they always deliver the facts, right? Like, what is it about them? And you're emulating. It's like art, right? You're looking at a painting and you're going, I think that painting is really cool. I'd love to figure out how to do that painting. You're reverse engineering what they're doing. That's it. It is so simple. Who do you admire? They're very successful. Wow. Why are they successful on social media? Oh, fascinating. They're always using the same 3 hashtags. Point noted. Oh, fascinating. They're always opening with an interesting one-liner. They're giving a hook to the reader. They're hooking the reader. That's writing a book 101. How do you hook the reader? How do you keep them in? And that's video trailers 101. How do you hook the reader for the visual for 2 minutes? Break it down. Reverse engineer it. And then after you've practiced a number of times, you're emulating. You're not copying. You're emulating, but you're adding your voice. After you do it a while, then you have your own voice start to emerge from that. Mm-hmm. And that is the power, right? Then your authentic voice, after you've posted 1,000,000 times, you go, you know what? These are the things I really want to talk about. This is the style that I've found that I seem to like, right? But you're not going to know that at first. So it's back to test and learn and emulate those you admire. I'm not doing anything special on my LinkedIn posts, right? From an algorithmic standpoint, I'm posting, and then the first handful of people who are engaging with my content, I am very engaged with them. If they write an insightful comment, I'm immediately trying to have a conversation because that is what LinkedIn wants. They want the platform to be a conversational platform. So I do it. And I write long, thoughtful comments to these people. I'll spend a lot of time. And then more comments will roll in, right? And I'll do Ask Me Anythings on Fridays. And lots of comments come in. I'm responding to every single one of them. Those are the signals that they're looking for.
Beautiful, dude. I hope all of you were able to just think about that, unpack it over time.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to study the people that have already cracked the secret.
Yeah.
Unravel it, do a market analysis, check out everything your competitors are doing that already know how to do it.
Yeah.
And then start reverse engineering it and building that as your format going forward. Every industry under the sun follows the same thing.
Yeah.
And even if you're trying to get your career to the next level, it's like having a mentor, except it's all out in public and you can learn from it. And that's the fast pass to really establishing that authority and building the community. But LinkedIn, I could echo everything that John Marty just said. So instead of doing that, also be conscious of going and being a good community member. Because LinkedIn is looking for people that aren't just talkers. They're looking for people that contribute to other people's messages.
Yeah.
And this conversation should not be like a television broadcast. It should be like a telephone conversation that happens in chat, which means if you're a friggin' guru, get off of the high horse and go into other people's threads and have smart conversations. And you know what you're going to see? You're going to see a flood of those people that were reading that thought leader's posts, but they're going to look at your knowledge bomb. They're going to go over and look at your page and they're going to start following you. Use it to your advantage, add value to the community at large, and LinkedIn will continue to promote you and your content.
Yeah, and some people say, like, I have nothing to talk about, right? I have nothing to contribute. I don't even know what to talk about. That's fine. It doesn't matter. You know what? Literally put a link online on LinkedIn and say, you know what? I'm wanting to have fascinating conversations with the people. That's all I want to do.
Can I challenge that for a moment?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you are in the audience and you're thinking to yourself what John Marty just said, I don't even know what to say, and I can't imagine what to reply back to. The number one thing you should be doing, and I learned this as a talk show host, there'd be so many times when you're doing 4 live hours a day where you're like, oh, I don't even know anything about this topic, and I'm scared. I don't even know what my question's going to be. The real answer is start listening. Double down your effort, lean in, listen. The more you listen, the more your curiosity will pick up. And what you're curious about is what you should ask. Because if you're curious about it, other people are. And before you know it, boom, the snowball starts rolling. And now you know what to talk about.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it too, right? When you're reading other people's posts, it makes you think of a topic. From just engaging in the comments, you go, oh, wow, I've created a post by just engaging with a comment from somebody else on another post.
Yes.
That's where you get those ideas. That's why reading is so important, right? That's why your content consumption in the evenings is sparking constant flow of new ideas.
I'm like, no BS when I say this, okay? I'm actually embarrassed to say this, but I have a visual in my head of what I aspire to be when it comes to acquiring new knowledge in my industry and then sharing it with others. Okay. That visual is on the way home in front of the Fairmont Resort. I cut through, don't tell anybody, I cut through their property because it shortcuts through my house. And when I cut through, I get a little glimpse of their fountain every night. And they've got this killer fountain that's just overflowing with abundance. And in my brain, I want to be a content fountain. I want to bring in new information every day and let it spout out through the top so I can share it and enrich other people. Grab yourself a metaphor. And if you can feed yourself with that new information, it's so easy to share it because all you're doing is disseminating
That's
stuff
all it
that
is,
you
man.
find valuable, right?
That's all it is dissemination. You think my ideas are original, right? You know, your ideas are original. No, it's a constant intake and output.
Well, what is original is the unique insight that each individual has from life experience and how you could take something, how you could take something about that time you got your ass kicked and then blend it into this story to make it uniquely your own and the lesson of perseverance. You know, however you end up molding it is going to be based on that life experience. That's the unique part.
That's the key.
That's the key, right? Beautiful. Now, we had 3 things we needed to teach people. I think we've done all of them. So before we go into questions, you let me know. We're going to check off our boxes. You cool with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, good. And that was not a bilingual question, so you handled that one properly. Let's do the first one. How to be authentic online and learn to create video content to tell your why. Can we check that off our list? Boom. Second one, how to establish authority and really learn the algorithmic tips for generating buzz around your personal brand. John, Marty, can we check that box?
C. And number 3, how to build community, learn to engage with your followers and cultivate relationships through social media. C or no? Can we check that box? C.
All right. So we're over delivering. Can we get into some Q&A?
Let's do it. We'll start from the bottom. The first question here. Need some guidance along those lines, working towards something because you will then be happy versus working towards something because it makes you happy, and more inclined to work towards the first point. How do I fix it? So AG, working towards something because you will then be happy, working towards something because it makes you happy. Okay, right. So I think usually this is tied into a monetary gain scenario, right? Working towards something because you'll then be happy usually means you will then have money, right? Because in society, we use a construct of if-then statements. Like, if I get this job or promotion, I'm going to be happy because I'll be able to buy more stuff and whatever, right? I'm making more money. This is just my opinion here, and I could be wrong on your tonality in your question, but working towards something that's just making you happy straight up, that's a different story. I think you have to, if you're cut into 2 paths, I think you have to follow 2 paths because your personality is making you say, I like this thing and I like this thing, right? I'm hedging my bets. I have a family. I'm doing all of these things because I need to continue supporting myself. However, I also love this other thing, and I recognize the brand equity after 7, 10 years in the long game is going to be far better than what I'm getting out of my day job today. So the long game answer is your authenticity. The short game answer is the monetary value that you get from your day job.
Love the question. Loved how you just handled that thing. I look at it a little differently. I look at it like the business equivalent of, if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with. Because the fastest way to get to the job that you love is to love the job you're doing right now. And so many times in my life, I have been confronted with a project that sucked, but I still needed to make sure that project won. I mean, now I'm at this point in my career where fortunately we're just selecting the things that we're passionate about and we want to work on. Yeah. But at the beginning, I had to take everything, and the only way that I could get to this point as fast as humanly possible is love the one I'm with.
Yeah.
Hit a home run, and then new opportunities and choice and abundance will come your way.
I love that you added that, because there's an element of perspective that needs to be rolled into this, right? Sometimes we often dislike what we're doing because of society making us think subconsciously that it is not enough. We are not yet in the place we need to be. I see these amazing images on Instagram, and where I'm at is not right. But it is very important to try to fall in love with what you're doing. Try to have perspective on, like, you know what? I have a day job. It's supporting my family. There are certain things I like about it, certain things I don't like about it. And if you use that gratitude with it, it goes a long way.
Yeah. If you're a speaker and you want to get on to the biggest stages in the world, but you're speaking at World of Concrete on a Tuesday, you got to learn how to love that and to make it shine so you can get on to no offense to World of Concrete.
No, of course.
I love concrete. Don't get me wrong. Man. But it's hard to fire up about that But when you fire up about that, it gets you to where you really want to be.
Totally. Drew, there's 2 comments about this. Why am I always sitting on the floor in my living room?
Yes.
Okay, I will explain. I moved from Seattle to Denver, and we moved into a very, very small house. We made a conscious decision to move here to save a bunch of money, and live very simply. And my house is about 900 square feet. So I do not have an office. I sit on the floor in my living room. And I do that because I was trying to save a bunch of money to get into real estate. I wanted to save every penny. I'm building a house right now, and the house I'm moving in January, and then I'll have a proper office and what have you. So, but I thought it was very important to kind of downsize to one car and do all the things I needed to do to save money, because I recognize where I want to be is really financial freedom. And so I didn't want to live large over here when I knew that I could save, but that's that.
I mean, you could be standing around making it rain, right? But instead, right. Instead, sorry, just some pocket cash.
No, I appreciate
instead,
that.
You've organized that in a way so you can leverage to that financial freedom that you're looking for.
That's
and
right.
That takes wisdom.
That's right, because I'm delaying gratification, and I have been. So ever since I was at Amazon, right? 4 years at Amazon, had not ever, still to this day, have not spent a single dollar of the stock that I have received over a 4-year period of time.
Beautiful. Bro.
Because I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and now it's time to strike. So anyway, let's see. Can you tell me how to get started without expensive equipment?
Yes.
You got this, bro.
Let's do this. I want you to use your phone. In fact, if you look at the videos that I put out throughout the week, they're almost entirely with my phone.
Yep.
My phone's pretty damn good.
It's pretty good.
If you want to up the content, use this camera, not this one.
Just use the back. That's right.
The one on this side is 4K. The one on this side is like 1080p or often
it's still
720.
Yeah.
It's still pretty damn good.
Yep.
People won't judge you unless you're using this video as your business homepage explainer video or a testimonial story.
Yep.
The rest of the videos, your social videos and so on, can all be done on the cheap with your phone. If you're on a Mac, you can edit things up with iMovie. You can do the same thing with Movie Maker or whatever, any of these free programs. The speakers, the microphones are all inexpensive. You can go and get a $20 ring light. And before you know it, you've got yourself set up with a kit that allows you to compete with the big dogs.
Oh, totally.
Sure, it may not be IMAX quality, but who's going to watch it on an entire wall, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I film these videos on a Sony camera. I film certain videos on my YouTube channel with my phone. I do notice a difference a little bit when it's being watched on a big screen, but like most people are watching on mobile and the screen is really small. Like, who cares? Yeah. The only thing that people really care about to engage is high quality audio. And you can get a $60 microphone, plug it directly into the bottom of your iPhone and do your video like that. So, that don't be worried about the equipment. You can go down an equipment black hole. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I actually have in my backpack, I've got I carry it everywhere. I've got like a $25 tripod. I've got a travel mic when I don't have this mic, and back pre-COVIDian world where I'd have to be in hotels speaking several times a week, I would have a travel mic that would plug into the bottom of my phone, and that I would do my Toddcast right into that little thing. And people won't know, but people, what they really want from you is not Academy Award level quality. They want your content information and your expertise. And that's the quality they're looking for.
Yeah. And really, I mean, it comes down to, are you an entertainer? Are you an explainer? And if you're an entertainer, right, it doesn't really matter what your video looks like if you're entertaining them, right? Why do we make stupid, funny dog videos go viral, right? They're shaky and they're all over the place, but they're hilarious and we want to, and they're valuable to us, right? So don't worry about too much of the tactics side of things on the video. Just be yourself, deliver the value. And if you're not an entertainer and explainer, then you are on a journey and you are in the bucket of, I'm sharing my journey because I want to be here and I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's 3 categories really.
Pro tip, if you are going to use your phone, put it on airplane mode when you're recording.
Yeah.
Because the mic will pick up the dit, 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 dit,
Yep,
dit sound when you're trying to hit a cell tower, and that'll be annoying to people.
Totally. Melissa, should I post every day and how often? I mean, from a LinkedIn perspective, I'm posting maybe once a day. I may not even post once a day. If I have a post that goes like super viral and I'm getting a massive amount of comments, I'm actually spending the large majority of my time engaging with the comments on that post. I feel like that's more valuable than pumping out more content and getting lost.
Yep. And it also has to do with what type of how much value you can provide.
Yep.
Like I'm a friggin' fountain, man.
Yeah.
I could just literally
You just go for hours.
If I could just go, okay? Because I've been trained by doing so many hours of radio of creating a lot of content on a daily basis. But you should also make sure that you're, like John Marty mentioned, investing time in the conversation. It's really about the conversation, the relationship, managing that, and making sure people know that they can have access to you. So that's a big part of it. Like the coolest thing for me as a kid was writing letters, and I did it every week to professional baseball players.
That's awesome.
And then getting a reply like 2 months later with a handwritten letter from Johnny Bench was like the coolest thing in the entire world for me. I still have all those things, but now you can do that on social media. Oh yeah, maybe not to Johnny Bench, but you could do it to the person that you've got fandom of, whose information is valuable. And if you're that guru, if you're developing into that guru, don't go cool guy on your audience and disappear and not engage. The best part is having a conversation with somebody that you're looking up to. And those people will be so attracted to you and your information, they'll come back for more.
I agree, man. I agree. Dan, how long did it take to not cringe at the sound of your own voice? I mean, a couple videos.
Okay, yeah. Dude, I'm way out there.
Yeah.
I started in college with, pre-cell phones with these micro cassettes because I wanted to be a talk show host. So I had that problem, Dan, and I struggled with hearing my own voice. And so I kept a micro cassette recorder with me for 7 years. I've got 60 hours of diary that I had just regularly updated on. That massive freaking repetition developed the skill for me to tune all that out.
Yeah. Yeah. And almost, it's like the more you do it, the more conviction you have in what you're saying, the less you care about what other people think of you. Because you'll start getting those pressure tested like comments of negativity and what have you. And then the feelings of, am I good enough, start to come in. And you go, yeah, screw this. Of course I am. I'm on a journey. Whatever. I'm still going to be here in 10 years. Like, I don't care what you say about me, right? Like, I'm just going to keep on going. Your conviction is going to get stronger and stronger as you go, and you understand what part of the funnel you're in, in your journey, how niched down you've become. And you've talked about it so much, you don't really care anymore.
Also, it becomes you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do it so much.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
just part of the routine, man.
John Marty, you know my story. You know that yesterday I was able to announce that Tony Robbins asked me to speak at Business Mastery, his premier business event, which is
awesome.
Mind-blowing.
Totally.
Absolutely mind-blowing. But people's number one question that my phone, when it went public yesterday, were blowing me up, are you nervous?
Yeah.
And the reality is this is me. Like, I'm prepped and ready. Let's go.
You've been ready since you were tape recording, dude.
I was ready.
Yeah.
What I'm most nervous about is the dancey thing before I get started. It's like, I'm worried about that because I don't have massive reps on that, right?
Totally, man. Yeah.
So that's kind of like, just get in the process and you will insulate yourself from that negative feedback loop, but you'll have such stronger convictions in your ability to communicate because you've got the practice.
Yeah. Yeah, totally, man. Ekaterina. Apologies if I'm saying it incorrectly. I see some points on LinkedIn I see some posts on LinkedIn and really cannot figure out why they received hundreds of comments and likes, how to become known but for good stuff and not, taking by quantity. Yeah. So there are some
great
people.
Question.
It is a great question. There are some people who use some very interesting tactics about driving massive engagement right away. And what they do is they create a pod. So they'll create a LinkedIn group or they'll create a WhatsApp group, and YouTube is notorious for this type of thing as well. You dump your content and say, hey, thanks for, liking, commenting, and sharing, whatever, right? And so 100 people get together and they all do that for each other. And LinkedIn is looking for initial signals of a post. YouTube is looking for signals within the first hour of a video. If they're not getting the signals, it drops like a rock. Same with LinkedIn. So they're sometimes playing a game. You can do that, right? But like if you're just trying to game the algorithm, look, I mean, I'm trying to build a tribe of people who actually believe in what I'm saying and taking a long time to write. And if 20 people like that post, that is the only thing I care about. Like, I don't need 5,000 people to view it. And so it's irrelevant for me to jump into a pod like that because that's not the audience I'm trying to get.
It's interesting. I love the question, love the topic.
Yeah.
And this topic is as old as digital marketing is.
Totally.
Okay. So before I get into the old part of digital marketing, let me just say that it's easy. I've gone in and looked at these groups. I've looked at who the people are that are commenting and posting, and they have nothing to do with what the original poster's industry is. They aren't customers. They are a cumulative audience that's helping them game the system. And in the history of digital marketing, like if you started off like I did, like as an SEO guy, we split off in the early days really quickly. There were white hats, which were good guys that followed the Google rules, and there were black hats that gamified the system.
Yep.
And the black hats, the bad guys that gamified the system, always had a hard time sleeping at night because they weren't sure if their content or their clients' information was going to be there, or if their site was going to get taken offline or whatever. The white hats look for organic signals. They learn from organic signals, but you can't do that. You can't be studying your market and your audience if you're gamifying the signals. So you got nothing to learn from. And ultimately, John and I, we've never discussed this topic before, but as soon as he started to answer, I knew we were simpatico because the decisions are in the data. And if you can read the data that your audience is saying and that it's authentic and white hat, then you know what content to create next, but you can't do that if you're gamifying.
Yeah, totally. So I work, I've been working at Amazon for 4 years. I've been around tons of algorithms, and I see behind the scenes of what these signals are, how to block them and what have you, right? So the first thing somebody like LinkedIn is doing is they're going, you know what? We don't like this practice. How do we figure out who is doing this practice, right? First thing that they're doing is they're recognizing who is taking their post and actually clicking on the share button. Then, who is taking the post? They're sharing their own post, right? Who then is receiving signals from the exact same people all the time? The same 30 people, the same 50 people, right? And are they doing the exact same behavior, right? So you see an algorithmic web, a pattern emerge very, very quickly. And then LinkedIn says, you know what? We don't like that type of behavior. We're going to lessen your reach. And that's the black hat tactic, right?
I was at Google in 2011. I was speaking in San Jose for SMX Search Marketing Lands conference. And I was speaking on Google Plus, and they were just about to launch it. And when I was at Google, they showed me exactly what you had just described.
Totally.
They put up on the screen how they can tell what content is organic and which ones have fake, bot links.
Fake news.
And fake news. And then how easy it is for them to see it. And instantly I was like, that's a bad game for people.
Totally, man.
Because, I think remember, we were talking about authenticity in this topic. Part of being authentic is your audience is authentic, your information's true to you, your reactions are, and the quickest way to get disconnected from the power of authenticity, which make no mistake, we're both telling you as a magnet that pulls your audience and your target customers together is to gamify the system.
Totally, man. And it works well for a while until it doesn't. And then you don't know where to go, right? Because you only knew one way of gamifying the system. You didn't really build a real audience.
Hey, I got to tell a story if I could, right?
Tell it, buddy.
So I've got a buddy who's used to be a black hat SEO guy.
Yeah.
And a famous dude. And I said to him back in the day, like maybe 2000, right when I got back from Google at that 2011, 2012, I said, dude, SEO is, the black hat SEO is dead. Yeah. And he goes, I know, but I haven't figured out what to sell yet to my customers.
Yeah.
And the reality is all of these pod tricks, they will have their day and time, but the people that are making a living, that are making it rain and getting cash like this on a consistent basis, they aren't leveling up with people, and their day of reckoning will come and their reputation will go with it.
Yeah. I totally agree, man. I think it's so important because, I see a lot of people, what they're trying to do is they're like, okay, well, I can't feasibly create content like 3 times a week. I can't do it. Like, I don't have the time. It's like, and then they look for ghostwriters to create their content for them. And it's like, okay, short term, fine. You're going to get engagement. Short term, I know people who are actually having their assistants go in and make comments on the post as if it's them, right? Because they just literally don't have the time to do multi-platform. There's no way in hell. So they have a whole team of people who are logging in, engaging with comments, whatever. Look, that's great. The first time you get asked to speak on the topic that you have not been writing about for a year, you're screwed because it all falls apart. And if you want to do public speaking or any kind of coaching or whatever, you got to know your shit. You got to know your topic, man. Why did you write that? You wrestled with it in your own mind. You took an hour and a half to craft it. Now you get it, right? And so it's so important to write your shit. It's so important.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful, right? Like it's all about preparation.
All about it, man.
And that's why for me, what works for me is a daily diet. And I would highly recommend you guys remove yourself from all of the news. I'm a news junkie. I'm like, if the radio station, if the network called me today and was like, dude, can you come in and fill in for 4 hours? I'm like, you kidding? That'd be fun. I already know my topic for today and I would crush it. But where I'm my best is when I'm focused in on my business because I can affect the outcome of this place. I could go through COVID and not have anybody in the office and know that the company's growing and doing well because I'm focused on the primary goal and not all these outside things. So remove yourself from all the news. It doesn't matter what's happening. It really won't in the big picture. Invest in your business, become the guru of it, and you'll always be in high demand.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. What's the final takeaway, man?
I'll tell you right now, I feel lucky to have learned from you in this episode because, dude, you dropped significant knowledge bombs. I know that people that are just walking in right now, do yourself and your business and your long-term results a favor. Start the thing over when John Marty makes it available. Go through it and ask any follow-up questions. I think the two of us are more than prepared to help get you onto the next level so you can shine and live out that authentic expression of yourself. Yeah. And I think we'd have a lot of fun doing that.
Absolutely, man. You know what? And anyone who's on here who just joined, I think the biggest takeaway when it comes to any of this stuff is literally start believing in yourself. Yes. Compress your 10-year goal into something that is 6 months and ask yourself audacious questions. Like literally say, you know what? How could I retire in 6 months? Right? Like ask yourself questions that you would initially laugh at and say, that is some silly shit. Why would I ever even think about that? Because our normal time horizons for whatever we want to create are based on societal constructs, right? Your goal is to be authentically you, build up a massive following as soon as physically possible, and do the thing that literally lights you on fire. That is your goal. That is your goal. And do it as soon as possible, okay?
Beautiful. I love it. You got to think ridiculously.
Yeah, you do.
That's where it starts.
It does.
Like if you aren't laughing about it, like, wow, that's crazy. You aren't thinking far enough for yourself. Like, you aren't thinking big enough. I want to tell you guys one thing about a year ago. One thing a year ago, I went through a business event, and I went to Business Mastery, and as I was going through my metrics, I put down that I wanted our revenue to increase by, well, whatever was written in the book. The book had 72% increase. And I laughed at that. I thought that was hilarious. So I left it there. If I came out of that conference and I got a 10% or 15% increase, it would have been amazing. I would be, preaching the good gospel.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening is within 4 months, we generated 76% more revenue than the entire year.
Yeah.
Revenue went through the roof, and we ended up paying off all of our debt and having a security cushion before COVID. Take a number like John Marty had mentioned, think ridiculously, put it way out there, and strive for it, and you will exceed it. Just like I did with 76% instead of 72%. And when you do that, you'll say to yourself, I should create goals more often that are ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculous goals. Something that right now you think is 10 years ahead. Because every time it's so funny when you talk to people, when people say like, what are your goals? They usually tell you they're very short-term goals. They're like, yeah, well, my goal next year. And they're only thinking short-term. I'm like, my goal next year is to do something that I would have originally in college thought would take me 15 years to do. That's my goal. That's my goal next year. And I want somebody to literally look me in the face and laugh me out of the room, or I want them to leave and I want them to actually laugh behind my back. That's what I want.